Good evening everyone, welcome to Lukmaan IAS. Today we are going to have the Hindu analysis of 19th October 2022. Okay, so look at the first page of today's The Hindu newspaper. There is this news talking about step up global efforts to defeat crime, says Prime Minister Modi. So he is inaugurating this General Assembly session of Interpol. Okay, and at that particular instance, basically our Prime Minister addressed the Interpol. So this is the news related to that, and this 90th Interpol Assembly session is being held in India. Now let me tell you that all this discussion related to Interpol, there was this article on text and context page on 14th October. In detail, we have discussed in this The Hindu newspaper analysis 14th October 2022 related to Interpol and how, let's say, it is constituted, along with that the organizational structure of Interpol and which agency in India, like CBI, it is the agency of contact or the main agency dealing with the Interpol, a coordinating agency we can say in India, the highest investigating agency. All these things are discussed in that particular article and the lecture also. So you should refer to that video in detail to get idea about this. So it is related to international relations GS2 paper. It can be asked in prelims examination also. Now look at this news in detail. We'll cover this. Sri Lankan author win Booker Prize. Okay, so Sri Lankan author Shehan Karunatilaka has won 2022 Booker Prize for his second novel 7 Moons of Mali Almeida. Okay, so we'll again see the details of this news, but this is from miscellaneous perspective current affairs. You should be knowing about this. Now look at this news. Tamil Nadu House urges Centre not to implement languages panel report. So we are talking here about the recommendations made in the report of Parliamentary Committee on Official Languages submitted by its chairman to the President of India. The parliamentary panel has recommended Hindi as the medium of instruction in central institutions of higher education in Hindi speaking states and regional languages in other states. Okay, so there are some concerns related to it. Why? Because Hindi is being promoted by the central government, but some of the states like Tamil Nadu, they are staunchly opposing such kind of moves, because see here, the central institutions of higher education, there if suppose even within the let's say Hindi speaking states, of course the admissions will be done there on all India basis, and some of the students from southern states will be also getting admitted there. If the language of instruction is Hindi there, again those students will face problems. Same is for those institutions located in Tamil Nadu and other southern states. And yes, the students from northern India will be also there if the, let's say, medium of instruction there in non-Hindi speaking states is, let's say, Tamil, in Tamil Nadu, Tamil language, then how the Hindi, let's say, speaking or those having, let's say, what you can say, mother tongue Hindi, they will not be comfortable there. Okay, all these things you should know about. Fine. So have a follow up on this. Now moving on, look at this news. On the second page, government starts spraying bio-decomposer solution in the field as AQI remains poor. So again it is related to Delhi air pollution. Now some developments you should be aware here, that Delhi government has aimed to spray the bio-decomposer. We are talking here Pusa decomposer. This has been in news in last 2 years, developed by Pusa University, Agriculture University in Delhi, and this decomposer will be sprayed over 5,000 acres of agriculture land this year in Delhi. Okay, the bio-decomposer solution is one of the 15 focus points in Delhi government's winter action plan, which was released here in the previous month in Delhi. Now, bio-decomposer capsule developed by Indian Agriculture Research Institute was turned into solution through a week-long process, after which it decomposes straw and stubble into manure. We all have already learned about this, right? Now, this year Pusa Institute has provided bio-decomposer in liquid form to Delhi government. It has provided it in a liquid form. Earlier, there were Pusa decomposer tablets, and thereafter, let's say the liquid solution was to be made and then it was sprayed. Now, it is already prepared in a liquid form, and then the farmers will be easily using this. The government has procured the liquid biodecomposer directly from the institute and is spraying it under its supervision. This time the institute has also prepared biodecomposer in a powder form, and on the pilot basis it will be using it. Okay, so yes, one of the student is asking that how to read NCERT for UPSC and कैसे अप्रोच करना है NCERT के लिए. So I will explain this at the end of the session. Okay, first of all we'll see the important articles and thereafter I will explain about that, the importance of NCERT and how to approach. Okay, so this is related to environment section, prelims as well as mains. GS3 mains examination as well as prelims. Pusa decomposer or those, let's say bio-decomposer that is used here. See, using bio-decomposer, it will turn this straw into the manure, which will be further used by the farmers for increasing the soil fertility productivity. So this is good because at present the farmers are basically burning all that straw or stubble in the farm itself, which is let's say increasing the air pollution in Delhi and NCR region. Fine. Now, moving on. Okay, one more thing I wanted to announce here on the first page itself. Look at the ad. यहाँ पे आप ad देखिए. Public Administration Foundation batch is going to start by Ansari sir himself 27th October 2022. Okay, so those who are having or trying to opt public administration optional subject for this examination, and we all know that Ansari sir is the best in public administration field optional subject, so you can quickly join this batch before it is too late, we can say, for especially offline students. Okay, so this is the announcement, 27th October, remember the date. Fine, now moving on. Okay, look at this news. Japan seeks GI tag for Nihonshu, an alcoholic beverage. Okay, I will explain what do you mean by GI tag, how it is governed, under which, let's say, particular agreement of WTO, all these things I will tell. Now, the embassy of Japan, New Delhi, has filed application seeking geographical indication tag for Nihonshu, Japanese sake, an alcoholic beverage. First of all, I will talk about this news here, how it is prepared, this beverage and all, because it can be asked in prelims examination. In Japan, Nihonshu is registered or regarded as a special and valuable beverage made from fermenting rice. Remember this, it is prepared from fermentation of rice. People traditionally drink Nihonshu on special occasions such as festivals, weddings or funerals, but it is also consumed on daily basis in Japan. So it is integral part of lifestyle there. For making Nihonshu, 3 main raw materials are required: rice, kujikin, a type of fungal spore, and water. Okay, these 3 are important raw materials. Now, this has been, let's say, important part of, we can say, Japanese economy. Right, so you should be knowing that Meiji's period or Meiji's revolution, it is called as many times, after which Japan emerged as one of the leading country in the 19th and 20th century on the world stage. Meiji's restoration, we call it as. We learn this in world history. Fine, so remember this part also as a reference. Now, talking about GI tag, let me give you a brief idea about that. Just a moment. Okay. Yes. So talking about GI tag, remember this information because it can be asked in the prelims examination. So basically, geographical indicator is a kind of tag given to a particular product. It can be agriculture product, it can be any other, let's say, craft, art and craft by a particular community, which is having some unique qualities, and traditionally it is produced, manufactured in a certain area. That's why the geographical indicator name. The sign used on products that have specific geographical origin and possesses qualities or a reputation that are due to that origin. In order to function as a GI, the sign must identify the product as originating in a given place. This is the identification, we can say. Now, a GI right enables those who have right to use indication to prevent its use by third party whose product does not conform to applicable standard. Basically, it does not allow the third party to use the name. For example, if you take the example of Darjeeling tea. Now, Darjeeling tea is having the GI tag in India, and if suppose the another manufacturer of tea or producer of tea from Assam, let's say, is using that tag, then those producers of Darjeeling tea originally from that area can take certain action here. Basically, it is part of protecting intellectual property rights. Okay, and that's why we are saying that whatever the GI tags that are given in India, they are given under Geographical Indications of Goods Registration and Protection Act 1999, and they are governed and directed by WTO agreement on TRIPS. What is this TRIPS? Trade related aspects of intellectual property rights. Remember this. And in India, once the GI tag is given, it remains for 10-year time period. It remains valid for 10 years time period, after which there could be reapplication and renewal of that GI tag here. It can be renewed. Fine. So remember this, but it does not mean that the other producers or manufacturers cannot produce that particular product of the same quality. Try to understand this. See here, the protected geographical indicator does not enable the holder to prevent someone from making the product using the same techniques that are set out in the standards of that indication. ठीक है, सिर्फ ये जो है वो नाम यूज नहीं करने देना है, name. Now what is the significance of having a GI tag? One should know about that also. Simply significance of having GI tag. Now, first thing you should know, the significance is that it is protecting the quality and the origin aspect of that particular product, and those who are producing this, so their rights, because they are producing this with certain quality, they have this skill of producing that product there, and therefore we can say their rights are being protected. Second, the consumers are benefiting because they are ensuring that the quality, the GI tag ensures that the quality product is being delivered to the consumers, customers. So GI tag, this is also important. Then third aspect, misuse of name. Like for example, let's say Bengal Rasgulla. Now the Rasgulla is basically the name, originally if we say it is from Bengal or West Bengal, simply we can say. But now we can see that the problem is even the let's say Odisha also has their unique Rasgulla, and the other states are also having that. But the name Rasgulla cannot be used there if once, let's say, the West Bengal is having that GI tag, so the other states cannot use it. or the producers in that state. So misuse of name cannot be. Then fourth, it can be helpful in export. Okay, because the importers of that particular product from India basically will seek the product of that origin and quality. GI tag will ensure that. GI tag will ensure that. All this is significance of GI tag. Okay, remember this. Now coming back to the topic, look at this news. Grazing animals key to long-term soil carbon stability, IISC study. Environment section, GS3 part and prelims. Environment section. Generally in environment, what we learn is that the open grazing by the cattle or animals leads to soil erosion, especially in semi-arid areas. But there are some positive aspects, and we all know that soil is one of the natural carbon sinks, major carbon sink we can say. You should know this fact here mentioned in this article that yes, let me tell you that soil contains more carbon than all plants and the atmosphere combined. This is very important. Soil contains more carbon than all plants together plus atmosphere. So it is very, very important natural carbon sink. And what basically the researchers here are saying that the large mammals, herbivores like yak, ibex play a crucial role in stabilizing pool of soil carbon in grazing ecosystems such as Spiti region in Himalayas. They have done the research in that region. So you should be remembering that if suppose the number of herbivores decline, then it is impacting not only the food chain but also the recycling of carbon. We learn this in biogeochemical cycles in a carbon cycle. So it is disturbing the carbon cycle also. This is how the biotic factors are, when they are interacting with the abiotic factors, the ecosystem is getting disturbed. When let's say unwanted interactions are happening or unwanted let's say changes are happening in an ecosystem or in that interaction. Remember this as a part of case study for environment section. Now 6 spider species discovered across the country. We should be having follow up whenever new species are discovered in different parts of the country, especially Western Ghats, Eastern Ghats, Andaman and Nicobar, and Western Himalayas and Eastern Himalayas and Northeastern Hills. Remember this. Now the arachnologist from Center of Animal Taxonomy and Ecology, Christ College, all these researchers basically discovered 6 new species of spiders across the country. कहाँ पे मिले हैं? Found from the Garo hills of Meghalaya, Thar deserts of Rajasthan, Wayanad wildlife sanctuary of Kerala, Kottapara hills, and then thereafter University of Calicut campus. ये सब केरला में है. Okay, so now this much is sufficient. In details are not required. Okay, particular details of that species UPSC will not ask because it is very difficult to remember about all these species. But what is important for our examination, coming back to the relevance here, see the UPSC question, 2024 UPSC question. What this question is saying, among the following organisms, which one does not belong to the class of other 3? Such kind of question can be asked from the animal kingdom, or let's say classification of animals and the different families, and you should be knowing that a particular 3 among these belong to one family and a particular odd one among these 4 belong to other. So like for example spider here. Okay, crab, mite and scorpion, let's say scorpion, you can see that they are from crustaceans. Spider here, arachnids. or we can say that the present news is basically talking about new species of spider only, right? So this is how the relevance you should know, and this particular news, 6 spiders. Okay, so arachnids. Now let us come back to the classification, and I will give you brief idea about the phylum Arthropoda, of which these members are there, because there can be again question somehow in a different manner. Next year UPSC can ask like this. Now phylum Arthropoda, one of the phylum of invertebrates. We learn the classification of invertebrates. Very important for UPSC, because almost every year UPSC is using this specific terms of zoology, the animal classification, like Schneiderians 2021 question. If you see Arthropoda, if you see this particular question of 2014, they are talking about this. So specifically they are asking the zoological names here. So this phylum Arthropoda is the largest of animal kingdom, which includes animals like crabs, spiders and mites, insects and millipedes. Now about 84% of all known species of animals are members of this phylum. That's why it is very important. Okay. Now arthropods have limbs with joints. All of these are having limbs with joints for their movement, and they have hard exoskeleton. Now within this phylum there are subphyla called arachnids, crustaceans and insects. Major 3 are there. Millipedes can be separated also. These 4 are, we can say, subphylum among them. Now talking specifically of crustaceans, they mostly contain marine arthropods, but that does not mean only oceanic. Some of them can be found in the fresh water, for example crayfish. They can be found in the fresh water also, and some of them are also terrestrial, like pillbugs. Other examples of large crustaceans which are largely living in a benthic region, that is bottom dwelling animals, crabs are there, shrimps are there. You can give that examples. Now if we talk about the Chelicerata, or we can say simply the arachnids, they contain spiders, scorpions, ticks, mites. Okay, so these are the examples: spiders, scorpions, let's say ticks and mites, and they are largely terrestrial arthropods. Now coming back to this question, remember spiders, scorpions, ticks and mites, they are arachnids. Look at this: spider, scorpion, mites, they are arachnids, and crab is basically from the family of crustaceans. So odd one out they are asking, no? So answer should be crab here. Okay, fine. Now if we see the third one, insects. Now one more quality of arachnids you should know, that they do not have antenna. And they have 2 body parts, 4 pairs of legs. 2 body parts, 4 pairs of legs. Insects, now they have exoskeleton that covers their entire body. Insects consist of 3 body parts and 6 legs and an antenna. 6 legs, that is 3 pairs. 3 pairs. Here 4 pairs of legs means total 8 eggs, in which we are talking about here arachnids. Now examples of insects like beetle, butterfly, moth, dragonfly, bee, wasp और mantis. Mantis याद है? कुंग फू पांडा मूवी देखा है? उसके जो दोस्त होते हैं monkey, then tiger, and then we have mantis also there. So that example you can understand that it is belonging to insects. Now why we are, let's say, learning about this, or why it is of significance? It is important. Why? Insects, or let's say all these species, many of them are very important in terms of biodiversity, and also a part of, we can say, food chain. For example, if we talk about crustaceans, they are very important part of food chains in marine ecology, marine ecosystem. Or in general, if we say that insects, they are also very helpful in terms of pollination. Most of the pollination is being done by the insects themselves. Okay, like you can see the bees or beetles, or dragonflies, butterflies, they are very important in the pollination, we can say. So likewise we can take the input here. Now moving on. Now very important editorial on editorial page talking about whose pleasure. Now what is the context here of this particular article? Let's discuss in detail. Look at this. We are giving the title that can governor sack ministers. This is the context that Kerala governor recently has given the public statement that a particular minister in Kerala could be sacked because of undermining the position of governor. Yes, one student is asking when Ansari sir will take GS2 analysis. Yes, soon you will be notified on that particular. Tomorrow we will have, Ansari sir is having the GS4 paper analysis first. Okay, so yes, you should be knowing that GS2 paper जो होगा उसके बाद में होगा and you will be notified for that. Okay, now Kerala governor recently gave this public statement which created controversy here. One should clearly understand the constitutional provisions related to this. And what constitution say about the powers of governor in this regard? You should know Article 155 says that the governor is appointed by the president, that we all know. But Article 164 clearly mentions that the governor appoint chief minister in the state and the governor appoint other ministers on recommendation of chief minister. So governor is not having this discretionary power to appoint any person as a minister. Rather, the governor can appoint a particular person as a minister only on recommendation of chief minister. But a specific statement is mentioned in this article that the ministers hold the position at the pleasure of governor. That means there is this pleasure doctrine we can talk here. The pleasure doctrine. Let's understand the depth of meaning of this pleasure doctrine. This is added in the constitution with the meaning that as governor is the appointing authority. That's why it is mentioned that the ministers hold their position at the pleasure of governor. But that does not mean governor can discretionarily remove ministers from their position. Rather, the chief minister needs to recommend or advise governor that a particular minister should be removed. Then the governor take decision. So simply you should understand that this particular phrase is a kind of phrase used in the constitutions for having the nominal, let's say nominal aspects related to appointing authority, we can say. But that does not mean that they can remove them arbitrarily or with discretion. So in analysis, we should clearly understand a case of Kerala. Okay, case of Kerala government. Here, the controversy is related to universities, Kerala Universities Law Amendment Bill. Kerala Universities Laws Amendment Bill 2022. And basically, the governor is not taking action. Even the Kerala Legislative Assembly has passed the bill. Kerala Legislative Assembly has passed the bill, and therefore it is being criticized that the governor is not acting in the constitutional spirit. It is not acting in a constitutional spirit, and that's why minister must have criticized the governor. But the governor has taken the strong stand, although it is not in line with the constitutional provisions. This analysis you should understand. Along with that, in recent times, the Tamil Nadu state government and Tamil Nadu governor they are also have been at crossheads, especially related to NEET bill. You should be knowing about the examples, instances, kahan controversy ho raha hai. In recent past, you can know that governor of West Bengal and the West Bengal state government, so they are also having lot of, we can say, issues in the past through 2 to 3 years. Many times it was in news. So ये 3 example जरूर देने हैं आंसर में. Okay, whenever we talk about the controversy in recent times. Now, talking about one more aspect in analysis, that in general, governors are given the powers by the states as a chancellors of universities. And vice chancellors are appointed by the chancellor, that is governor, for each and every university. This is generally given by the state legislatures by whenever they are enacting a particular law to establish a particular university in the state. Now here you should know that this particular additional position for the governor or additional powers for the governors are given, but that does not mean these are absolute powers. State legislature, by amending those laws, can remove those powers, can make changes in those powers, and completely they can be removed also. These powers can be removed also that are given to the governors. So this particular aspect is let's say creating the problem between the governor of Kerala and the Kerala state government. Now what MM Punchi Commission has recommended in this regard, MM Punchi Commission on center-state relations has given several recommendations, and on this particular issue has said that the particular powers related to Chancellor of State should be completely abolished. So this needs to be implemented in all states so as to remove any kind of controversy here between the governor and states. Especially this type of things happens when there is different political party or opposition party is there in power in a state. So you can see that in Tamil Nadu, in West Bengal, in Kerala, why these things are happening. Okay, so in way forward, one should mention this MM Punchi Commission recommendation also, and along with that, you should also mention that the governor is basically although the powers that are there mentioned in the constitution, these powers are to some extent being arbitrarily expanded by some governors. Okay, so remember this aspect, and therefore you should mention that there is need of adhering spirit of the constitution by the governors. Okay, they needs to ensure that whatever the major role, what is the major role of governor? They should ensure that the constitutional provisions or powers that are there, they needs to be used against the state government if state government is going outside constitutional provisions. Remember this. This is a kind of check on the state government. So ये पॉजिटिव रोल है, बट कर क्या रहे हैं कुछ गवर्नर्स जो है वो निगेटिव चेंजेस लाने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं इस तरीके से. Yes, sir, where can I get this class PDF? I'm new here to your class. Okay, yes, we are uploading these PDF in YouTube lectures or whatever the YouTube video you are following, no, उसके description में हम immediately after the lecture we are uploading this PDF, so you can download from that. Fine. Okay, so GS2 paper polity part, very important article. Now coming back to newspaper, other articles, see here, they are not that much relevant, they are political in nature. Now okay, this is also not that much important. Now text and context page is very important, and in text and context page, very lead articles we can say Gambia, child deaths and cough syrups. So I will highlight the important points that should be kept in mind for your prelims examination. And simultaneously in your newspaper you also highlight, or in notes you note it down. Zoom करना है थोड़ा सा, ठीक है? Yes. So why it is in news? We all know that in Western African country Gambia, recently there have been many child deaths due to failure of kidneys, and basically the Gambian government after preliminary investigation are blaming the poisonous cough syrups that are used for treatment of cough, cold or fever to those children. And the preliminary investigation has led to or identified those cough syrups which are involved here are exported by a particular company in India located in Haryana. ये आपको basic aspect news पता होनी चाहिए, why it is in news. Now let's understand some science and tech related aspect. Yes, so yes, West African nation of Gambia, the authorities were investigating if there was link between dozens of child deaths from acute kidney injuries and the consumption of paracetamol syrup used for fever, cough, cold and pain. Let me show you which 4 brands have been identified there. These 4 brands which are exported from India, yes, promethazine oral solution BP, cofaximilin baby cough syrup, Macof baby and Macrib and cold syrup. These 4 are there, and there is some kind of, let's say, poisonous content let's say added here, which is being considered as the culprit. Now which are these poisonous content? We will talk about that. Even WHO has intervened and given some kind of warning to India for further investigation, and how our bodies reacted, we will also talk about that. Yes. Now, which particular chemicals that have been found harmful and why these chemicals are added by the pharma producers? Look at this. The unacceptable amounts of 2 contaminants. Which are these 2 contaminants? Diethylene glycol and ethylene glycol. Diethylene glycol and ethylene glycol. Now, why these are added by as a contaminants? First thing we should understand that the cough syrup provides these, let's say, if you talk about glycerin. Okay, look at this. Medical experts say that in order to cut expenses and due to solubility of compounds like diethylene glycol and ethylene glycol, manufacturers may sometimes substitute it for non-toxic solvents such as glycerin, which can be costly. To reduce that cost, comparatively cheaper commercial grade versions of these diethylene let's say glycol and ethylene glycols are used, and it results into contamination. Now we should understand that instances of such contamination and deaths linked to diethylene glycol are not new. They have been found in India, US, Bangladesh, Panama, Nigeria. In India, if you see in the past, like we have highlighted here, last year 12 children died in Udhampur district, Jammu due to contaminated cough syrup called as cold best PC for same reason. If we go in past, in 1973 there was similar incident at Children's Hospital Egmore, Chennai, that caused death to 14 children. A similar instance in Mumbai JJ Hospital also. So such instances have happened in the past, but you should know that particular 4 brands which have been identified are All India Organization of Chemists and Distributors says that none of these 4 cough syrup mentioned in WHO's alert was available for sale in India. It is not available for sale in India, but you never know. Pharma products in India, illegally they spread at very fast rate because they are cheaper and therefore they could be used by the poor people also. ठीक है, illegally sell किया जा सकता है, although this organization is saying that. Now, how are Indian authorities reacted to this alert given by WHO? So, our Central Drug Standard Control Organization initiated the preliminary investigation to ascertain the facts and details in collaboration with the State Drug Controller of Haryana. What they found? After preliminary inquiry, Maiden Pharmaceutical, this is the company in Haryana, Maiden Pharmaceutical Limited was licensed by the State Drug Controller for the products under the reference and held manufacturing permission for these products. The company has so far exported these 4 cough syrup only to Gambia. One should know that state, let's say Haryana State Drug Controller has given this license only for exports. Only for exports and not domestic consumption. Remember this part also. Okay. Now, Indian authorities are now waiting for WHO to share exact one-to-one causal relation of death. So, we are waiting for WHO's report for understanding whether it has been, let's say, the deaths have been, let's say, part of result of consuming these cough syrups from India. Exact cause of death. Okay, so after that only the Central Drug Standard Control Organization can take some legal actions against this particular Maiden Pharmaceutical company. Fine. So this information is important from your GS 3 paper, Science and Technology, and as well as Prelims, Science and Technology. Fine. Okay. Now moving on, look at this news. The illusions of being faster than light. This photograph, very famous photograph. किसका है ये photograph? Yes, black hole. Okay, so for the first time the photograph of black hole was taken, a global network of telescope in 2019, and this became very famous. Now this article is written that how this photograph was taken with the help of Global Astronomical Interferometer Astrophysics Scarecraft GAIA and Hubble Space Telescope instruments. Let's identify important points related to space science here in this article. First thing you should know that LIGO, the background is given here. Yes, Laser Interferometer Gravitational Wave Observatories. LIGO is basically responsible for research in finding gravitational waves originating from such kind of instances where the 2 neutron stars merge forming the black hole. Okay, let's say stars, neutron stars, when they collide, merge together, they form the black hole, and in that process these gravitational waves are high energy waves. Now they are being called as unusual jet of matter that was observed that gave an illusion of traveling faster than light. See, it is a kind of illusion. It is a kind of illusion, and when the actual speed was calculated, what was found there, you should know that also. It was found that the actual speed of that material moving with the speed as high as 0.9997 c. Here c is the speed of light. Speed of light. This has been the observation, and you should know the meaning of neutron star. Neutron stars are basically the stellar corpse left behind after a star has undergone supernova explosion and reached the end of its lifetime. They are extremely dense, containing more mass than the sun in sphere that is few tens of kilometer wide. कम जगह पे ज़्यादा मैटर होना मतलब more dense. मतलब more dense. We know the density definition, and therefore we should understand neutron stars are very dense, highly dense, and when they merge with each other, this black hole is formed. Black hole is formed. So neutron star के बारे में आपको पता होना चाहिए. There is one term used here, Lorentz factor. Okay, so the speed of the apparent speed of this jet from the black hole or this phenomenon is also let's say measured more accurately by the factor called as Lorentz factor. It scales with actual speed of particles in the jet. Okay, unlike the earlier estimates which placed this factor about 4, present paper, research paper considered it more than 40. Lorentz factor. So if suppose in prelims question is there, Lorentz factor, the term sometimes seen recently in news, is related to. It is related to basically this event. Two neutron star merging, forming black hole, resulting into unusual jet of matter, and the speed of that matter is calculated with this factor accurately, Lorentz factor. Remember this. Now, one more observatory which is used here, very long baseline interferometry, VLBI, and this was used in the earlier papers. Here the authors could beat VLBI in precision because they calibrated Hubble Space Telescope data with GAIA. What is this? Global Astrometric Interferometer for Astrophysics spacecraft. So more accurate calculation of speed of that jet of matter emerge from such black hole event. ये आर्टिकल में यही एक्सप्लेन किया गया है. So it is more relevant to prelims examination. It is more relevant to prelims examination, science and technology. Now moving on, court cannot issue direction to frame universal civil code. Why this news? GS2 paper polity part, also for prelims examination. Polity. Okay, so here basically there is petition in Supreme Court seeking some kind of direction by the Supreme Court to the executive authorities to frame universal, uniform civil code, And you should know that under the part 4 of Indian Constitution, in Article 44, there is this DPSP, Directive Principle of State Policies, saying that the state should make efforts for having uniform civil code. Uniform civil code deals with the matter like, for example, related to marriage, divorce, so some kind of personal and family matters, and they are civil matters. Now at present we know that different religions, they follow different kinds of civil laws, and some of them are codified as a part of law, statute, some of them are still personal laws. For example, personal law is there in Islam religion, but Hindu laws are codified properly. So at present there are varying civil laws in the country, and there has been this particular DPSP was added because there should be some kind of uniformity in terms of how the civil rights are given to the people belonging to certain community. Then there is no discrimination. So recently many times it is in news because of the rights of the women belonging to certain communities, they are not upheld. Before Supreme Court is saying that court cannot issue direction to frame UCC. Rather, the central government is saying that the ministry is basically seeking some kind of recommendation from the law commission itself. ठीक है, लॉ कमीशन से डिटेल स्टडी की जा रही है on let's say to form the UCC. See here, the ministry said that it had requested law commission to examine various issues related to UCC and make recommendations considering the sensitivity and in-depth study involved in various personal laws governing different communities. And 21st Law Commission had uploaded consultation paper titled Reform of Family Law subsequently in August 2018. So remember this, that the Law Commission has already given the paper, consultation paper, but the final report is not there. And after that maybe the government can come up with the law here on UCC. Fine. Now moving on. Look at this news. Center increases minimum support price for rabi crops. We all know that minimum support price is announced for different seasons, we can say crops, kharif crops, rabi crops, and this is announced by the government before sowing season. Like this is for rabi crops are being now sown by the farmers. So before sowing itself it is announced, and for wheat it has been increased this year by 110 rupees per quintal. It has been increased by 110 rupees. Remember this news, because MSP is very important incentives for the farmers to sow the particular crop, and MSP has been there, but it is not legal or it is not provided under statute in India. That's why the farmers are seeking the legalization of MSP in the country. And along with that, who recommends this? CACP, Commission on Agriculture Cost and Prices. This CACP recommends this MSP, and the final decision is by the government. There was this question in prelims examination regarding this CACP. Fine. Look at this. Giraffes brought to India by the British may belong to endangered species. Now, before independence, Britishers brought this 29 northern giraffes, let's say, that are there at present in a captive population, and these giraffes, now there is one research saying that they belong to category of critically endangered and endangered species. So just remember this aspect, because if they are having such categorization, they require more conservation efforts in the country. At present, most of them are basically in captive population in zoos in different parts of the country. ज़्यादातर ये सब कोलकाता में जो zoo है वहाँ पर है सब. So environment section. Now, Pakistan likely to be taken off FATF grey list this week. So talking about FATF, briefly let me give you insights into FATF. Financial Action Task Force. This was established in 1989 after G7 summit in Paris. This is basically the global watchdog for money laundering and terror financing. Total members, if we say, at present 39 members. India joined as, we can say, 34th member in 2010 FATF. Okay, its headquarter is located in headquarter of OECD in Paris. It maintains two lists which are many times in news. First, grey list, and second is black list. Okay, so grey list are basically considered as safe havens for terror financing, and money laundering activities. For example, at present, country like Pakistan. And blacklist countries non-cooperating, we can say countries or territories, non-cooperating. For example, Iran or North Korea at present. Okay, now what is the significance here? If the country is in grey list, basically they will not get funding from international organization. It will be very difficult for them to get funding from World Bank, IMF and other banks, international financial institutions. And it is very difficult for that country's economy for further growth, as the international investment funding, concessional fundings will not be done. So this is very important aspect. This can be asked in the prelims examination. Okay, coming back to newspaper. Look at this news. Sri Lankan author Shehan Karuna Tilaka wins Booker Prize for Afterlife thriller. Okay, so his name of the book, his second novel, The Seven Moons of Mali Almeida. Okay, the judges described this book as a whodunit and let's say race against time, full of ghosts and gags and deep humanity. Now you should know that this is the second author from Sri Lanka to win Booker Prize. Okay, and along with that let's say ठीक है, ये डिस्क्रिप्शन जरूरी नहीं है बुक में क्या दिया है. यूपीएससी विल नॉट आस्क दिस क्वेश्चन इन प्रीलिम्स, बट यू शुड नो दैट दिस इज टू सम एक्सटेंट रिलेटेड टू घोस्ट्स and their stories. Basically it is having some kind of link to civil war of 1990s in Sri Lanka. Civil war. Fine? Okay. Now, yes. These are the important articles. The sports page itna important nahi hai, and you can skip that if it is not having any relevant let's say article. Now coming back to this PPT here, PDF, look at the questions, mains related questions that we have provided, and you should try to attempt at home these questions. It is being observed that governors in India are having an exaggerated notion of their own roles under the constitution. Do you agree? Give justification to your view. Yes, to some extent examples dene hain, Kerala, Tamil Nadu and West Bengal, but in general if we see in other states there is some kind of coordination, cooperation between all this, right? So you should be knowing this. You can give the justification, arguments in favor and arguments against, and ultimately you give your opinion properly. Opinion should be in this particular question. There are certain instances, especially in those states where there is opposition party in power, or let's say a regional party in power, and these instances needs to be reduced after some kind of let's say clarity of role of governor. ठीक है, ऐसे कुछ ग्रे एरियाज है जहां पे रोल ऑफ गवर्नर, पावर्स ऑफ गवर्नर्स आर नॉट क्लियरली मेंशन्ड. Governors are expected to defend the constitution and may use their powers to caution elected regimes against violating the constitution. Do you think that they are living to this expectation? Question mark. Analyze with the help of recent examples. Again same, but framing is different. Now governors are linchpins of India's federal polity. Critically analyze the role of governors in Indian polity. Okay, or in the light of this statement. So linchpins means their position is very important to hold the federal structure in a proper manner, and therefore we know that India is a federal polity, and especially we know that we have federalism with unitary bias. This unitary bias could be maintained properly when the governors are let's say having their role properly delivered. ठीक है, तो ये आपको यहाँ पे रोल एंड पावर्स बताना है लिंच पिन्स में फेडरल पॉलिटी को अपहोल्ड करने के लिए. एंड देन यू शुड लेट्स से गिव सम instances where the particular role is being not properly delivered. इसलिए critically analyze, second part. Now what should be answer to this question? Mention in the comment box, online students. Yes, similar question but नाम चेंज कर दिए हमने. ठीक है, odd one out we have to find. So after multiple revisions you will remember. एक बार में याद नहीं रहेंगे ये सारी चीज, right? So crabs, shrimps and crayfish crustaceans है. Scorpion जो है आप arachnids में ऐड करिए. Okay, scorpions, then we can say mites, ticks, arachnids में आएंगे. Fine. So answer is C here. Now what should be answer to this? With reference to Constitution of India, consider the following statements. Yes. What should be answer to this question? Okay. Now, governor of the state is appointed by the President of India. This is true according to Article 115. Governor is appointed by the President of India under his warrant and seal. Then ministers shall be appointed by the governor on the chief minister's advice. This is also true. Article 164 says this. Now, minister shall hold the office during the pleasure of chief minister. This is incorrect, right? Rather, pleasure of governor. So, we should be knowing the exact wording of whatever that is mentioned in the constitution. This is incorrect, and therefore 1 and 2 only is the correct answer. 1 and 2 only is the correct answer, right? Okay. So, these are the important articles. Now, the query that one student asked about NCERT. Yes, NCERTs are very important for our examination. Why? Let me tell you that they create a foundation for your preparation and your exam. Foundation for both prelims as well as mains. Because many times whatever the basic questions that are asked in prelims and mains, questions could be asked on those basics. Questions in prelims could be direct or applied, static or applied. So knowledge from NCERT could be used for both types of question. If the question is direct or static, or if let's say applied, both the information from the NCERT. Second aspect, you should know that they are written in very lucid language. Easy है, अच्छा है, बहुत सारे images है, photos use किए हैं, and therefore it is very interesting to read NCERTs. That advantage we can take here, but we cannot limit ourselves to this source only while preparation. ठीक है, तो सबसे पहले आप NCERT read करिए 6 to 10. Then for certain subjects like geography, we have to read 11th and 12th standard NCERT also. And thereafter, you should read the reference books for each and every subject, at least one good reference book. Like for example, polity के लिए आपने M Laxmikant use करना चाहिए, या फिर geography के लिए GC Leong use करना चाहिए. So that's why likewise you can take inputs from the NCERT to build your strong foundation, conceptual understanding, basic knowledge about those syllabus topics, and thereafter you can shift to the reference book. ठीक है? So I guess this would be sufficient for your query. Fine? Okay. So if you don't have any other query, we'll stop. Fine? Okay. Thank you.